If you have children or even nieces or nephews around kids, you'll know something very obvious, that kids love toys. They love toys so much that at a kid's birthday party, they will sit in like a semicircle and just wait for the birthday boy or girl to rip open these gifts, and then it's just one after the other. The oohs and ahs come, and it's almost insatiable, meaning that, no matter how many gifts there are, they always want to see another one open, or the birthday kid wants another one. And we try to explain to kids, that old quote, never let the things you want make you forget the things you have, right? We try to explain to them that, all the toys in the world won't make you happy if all you want is just more toys. And I've even tried to explain to a kid a concept called like a toy utilization rate, right? What percentage of your time are you actually using this toy? What percentage of your day? How many hours have you even used this, Batman Lego set or whatever it is? And of course that doesn't make any sense to them, because it wouldn't have made any sense to me when I was a kid. But we try to explain to children, it's not always about wanting this next thing and just that kind of continuing. But the question is do we ask that of ourselves? How often are we saying to ourselves, do I need this? Do I want this? Or am I just in that same loop that I was in as a child? The average car in the United States, new car selling price is over $33,000. We create over 4.5 pounds of trash every day. The average American household has expanded threefold in the last 50 years, and 25% of Americans who have a two-car garage, 25% of those Americans can't even fit a car in their two-car garage because there's no room. It's just full of stuff. So I think we need to ask ourselves this question: if we're really doing the same thing we did as a child and just wanting this next thing, and how can we simplify our life? How can we pare things down to a place where we can live with greater intent and not just be caught up in the loop of wanting more and more? But it's not always just about things, it's also about how we spend our time. In fact, the Bureau of Labor Statistics in America, they analyze how Americans use their time. They look at all demographics, but this chart here is actually about really looking at just a slice of America, just for the sake of looking at a group. Let's take 25 to 50-year-old adults that have a child under 18, so, American family or whatever. The first thing you'll see in this chart is that there is just a lot of time being spent on sleeping and going to work. So actually, let's cut that down, right? Let's look at this average work day, which is this chart. Let's actually cut it down to just what your free time is during a work day if you fall into this demographic. When we cut out the working time, the sleeping time, the eating time, really that's what our life is, right? Our free time. And you'll see that we spend like 1.1 hours of time on household activities, and that might not sound like much, like cleaning and stuff like that, but that's actually 17% of our life on a work day. 17% of our life, and we work most days, so it really is telling on how even a small amount of time, even 45 minutes of your time, if someone says, hey, can you do this? Can you commit to X, Y, or Z? Just 45 minutes is not a big deal. That's like 11% of our free time, our free life on a work day. So we really have to take a look at how we consume things, and how we spend our time, and do a physical audit, right? When's the last time most people actually took a minute, 10 minutes to just kind of look at where they're at on the things and the activities, and are we living life with intent, or are we just letting life happen, right? Are we just kind of keeping up with the Joneses, almost not even, almost like subconsciously, or can we simplify our life to take away the stress and to create more time, to actually reserve more time, I should say, for the things that truly matter? So in doing an audit, it's pretty simple. We got two buckets, right? We have things and we have activities, okay? And of course we need to audit what we currently have. What do we physically have in our storage container, storage units, in our houses, at our parents' house, in our closets? in our attics, our garages, what are all those things that we currently have, and then all the things that we do. Activities, sporting events, taking care of family members, eating, sleeping. Let's make that pie chart, not for some demographic, but for ourselves, right? Let's analyze that, but we've got to also look at what we desire, right? What we want to buy, what we want to consume, that next material goal. And then we also need to look at the activities we want to start playing the guitar, or sewing, or running 5Ks. When we create this quadrant of things that we understand, that we have or desire, then we're at a point where we can better simplify our life. But that audit is really an important first step. And then the second step is not to get into this stage of cutting things down. It really is to prioritize what you want to do on this world. We get one chance to live on this planet. How do you want to spend your life? So prioritize the top 5 things that you want to spend your time on, and don't just make it a list that is sort of stereotypical or should be expected of you. I'll give a personal example. A lot of people say family should be number 1, right? But the hard truth of my life is that I don't actually spend that much time with my family. They live in different cities, and I could pretend and say, like most people should, oh, family's priority in my life. But how am I really spending my time? How do I really want to spend my time? I've got to take a hard look at my priorities and be honest with myself. That's one of the 7 elements of honor for Because I Said I Would. And if I were to say what is a priority for me, I'm not sure if family would make it in the top 3, maybe top 5, but that's a hard question I need to ask myself. That's just me though. What is your hard question? What are we saying is a priority but maybe really isn't, or something that should be a priority really when you look at how your time is being used? So create your top 5 priorities and use that as a filter, as a lens to do the next 4 steps. And that really is life simplification. The first thing you can do is eliminate things in your life. What can you completely stop or get rid of? And that's not only the things that are currently in your life, but stop or get rid of those desires, those wants, of things that at the end of the day, in your analysis, perhaps don't actually add up to what you want to do. So you can eliminate things just entirely, cut them out, but sometimes it's not reasonable, so we've got to reduce, right? Do the same activity, but not for as long. How can we reduce that time? By creating efficiencies in our approach to it, or just simply saying, you know what, I'm not going to go to yoga that much, or I'm not going to join this professional group so that I can go do yoga more. Whatever your life decision is of course up to you, but reduce is just about paring it down. Then combine is an important thing. This is some things, a step that people don't really often think of. They kind of think of the eliminate or reduce, but combining is incredibly important. For example, if you want to spend more time with your kids, but you also want to exercise more, I mean, you can do things with your kids that constitute as exercise, right? Athletic activities, just playing with them in a manner that gets your heart rate moving. So can you take 2 things that you consider reducing, right, on that portion of your list, can you actually combine them together? That's not going to always happen, but it is a step that can really create a much better, more simple life if you could do it right. And the last thing is substitute, right? Can you take a goal that you want to have and or activities, anything, can you say, well, I can achieve something similar to it in a different way? You know, for example, I kickbox, but I also made a promise to get a black belt, and I've neglected this black belt, you know, martial arts promise or whatever. And should I just stop kickboxing and actually just go after that? Can that be more of a substitute? I think it's something that we need to consider and how we push and replace our things. So at the end of the day, you got to take an audit and then prioritize, because you got to see where you're at. You got to filter that through priorities and then eliminate, reduce, combine, or substitute. These are the steps that it takes to simplify your life. And you may be asking yourself, why as a nonprofit organization, as a charity, why would we care as a social movement about these things? I mean, we're talking about cars and storage spaces and, you know, I don't know, that seems kind of off. Well, the reason why we're focusing on it is kind of simple, and it points back to some statistics. I don't know if you know this, but 75% of Americans in a given year don't volunteer a single time. Not even an hour. In 2011, the wealthiest Americans, the top 20%, contributed 1.3% of all their earnings to charity. Now, I'm not saying that we all need to quit our jobs or do anything crazy like that to better humanity, but I think that we can volunteer a little bit more, right? That we can give a little bit more when we have the means to charity. And if we can simplify our lives down, maybe we'll become less stressed and maybe we'll have more room for those in need.